So, this is a civil service job, and it's the role of a B business analyst for the Department of Works and Pensions. And they've told you when you need to apply before 7th May. So, it's obviously you have whoever is applying, you have less than 2 days to apply for it. They've told you your pay, London pay. You obviously get the this is the grade. This is the what do they call it, the pay range. For it, you usually get like a pay range. So this is pay range, but obviously if you're from London, you get the upper part of the range, and then if you're anywhere else other than London, you get the lower part of the salary range. The job grade is a senior executive officer, which is really good. Um, and like I keep saying, yeah, even if the pay is not great, when you get if you're in this job range, then when you've stayed here for a while, you can go and apply for another senior role that you can get double or triple this amount. So obviously, if it's a civil service role, so it may not pay as much as some others for a senior role, but once you can put that you were a senior executive officer, when you start applying for other roles, you'll be eligible for the pay of a senior executive officer in other places. So you may have to sacrifice the pay for the grade and then move on. And if the pay doesn't work for you, then it's fine. So location, about the job benefits, we'll just scroll down. So this is the job summary. Now, a lot of people skip this bit, but it's really very important. So it's telling you what they want. So they want an experienced BA with skills and capacity to help the DWP staff in delivery of critical public services. As a BA in the digital team, so they've told you they want digital experience. You play a key role in delivering change within the department. All these words are key. There's digital here, there's change here, there's BA skills and capacity here. So there are some words that are key that you need to take note of for your CV and for your interviews. So be very, very cognizant of those ones. So they're like, okay, fine. They have several vacancies in these areas within the digital business unit. So they have bereavement and care services, working age services, retirement services, health and disability, collaboration and communication, citizen information, the garage, fraud and error, digital health and disability. So as a BA, you can work anywhere here. Remember, we don't need domain knowledge to work as BAs. We need BA skills. If you have a BA skill, unless they're specifically asking for domain knowledge, which you can finesse sometimes, you can work anywhere. So don't let any of this throw you. And they said they have vacancies. So I'm thinking this is not even just for one BA role. They're probably looking for multiple BAs that they can put in all these different projects. So it's obvious that they're doing projects in all these different work streams. We call these work streams. So they have care services, all these are work streams under a particular business unit. So it's digital. Yeah. So, and again, if you look through, so I know I focused a lot on the headings, but if you look at the kind of work they're doing, okay, so service delivery, support, those is digital. So whatever they're doing is because digital it underpins everything. It doesn't matter what you're doing, you need tech, you need IT, you need digital. So regardless of what the domain is, that's why I love digital. It's so versatile. You can do so many different things, work anywhere, because whatever it is, digital underpins it. You want to deliver something, you need a digital application, you need software, you need an app, website. There's something digital that will make that service possible. Yeah, so that's why, again, this is a really exciting business unit. Like I said, I started with digital, probably go back to it again eventually. So again, like I said, okay, so digital services, very important. Support, um service delivery. Then this one talks about ongoing digital transformation, supporting access to work grants, digital end-to-end transformation, developing a new digital service to help medical practitioners, continuous improvements, business needs. So I'm trying to call out some key words in this description that they're talking about. Yeah. This one talks about collaboration and communication. They're already talking about Microsoft 365. They're talking about Copilot with AI. If you don't have AI in your CV, I'm not sure what you're waiting for. You need it. Everybody is not. It's been there for a while, but now there's a huge buzz about AI. So it's definitely going to get your CV noticed, or at least it'll help your CV. So already they're talking about generative AI um capabilities. Everyone's adding all this to their services. There's data solutions, so citizen information, talking about personal data and data solutions. That's another key set of words that they're using. We have generative AI here again, robust solutions. So you have solutions there. You have working closely with practitioners and stakeholders to develop and maintain fraud and error solutions. You have management of several IT assets supporting vulnerable customers. Okay. So it says you'll be given the opportunity to continue to grow your capacity, skills, and knowledge through working with senior lead BAs and in support of a wider BA practice. So I like what they're saying here. You won't be working alone. So even if you're working on different projects, you kind of work with senior and lead BAs who guide you, which is really good as well. You may also be responsible for managing junior BAs to develop your management and coaching skills, which is why whatever you do, don't skip out on being a buddy. So being a buddy helps you grow your own skills, but you can also put it on your CV that you manage junior BAs, and a lot of businesses are working for it. It's on my CV. So I do it to grow, but I also acknowledge that this is what I do when I talk about coaching, mentoring, all of that. And it's a huge part of what, even in my organization, I still do it as well. And a lot of businesses are looking for it. So they didn't put it here, but it's something that you can put to say, because it shows a level of leadership. You can say till the crows come home that, oh, I'm a self-starter, I can work on my own, but only um someone who manages junior BAs can handle themselves. Yeah, so that's proof that not only do you know what you know, but you can also manage yourself and manage others too. So there are things that prove what you say in your CV, and this is one of it. So it says, as part of the role, you may be required to travel regularly to other digital hubs. So the frequency of this will be discussed if you're successful. It's fine. Travel is part of what we do sometimes. You may need to go from center to center, or like they say, they're digital hubs. So yeah, if you're willing to travel, then that's fine. If you're looking for a remote role for personal preferences, then you may need to discuss that as well. So that bit is really important. Don't skip on this bit. Like I said, in a job application, there are three sections, usually three sections to the job description. Don't skip out on any of them. So this is what the job entails. This is what the job you're going to be doing when we hire you. Now this bit is, oh, this is continuation as well. So okay, job summary, then job description. It's okay. This is usually, yeah, okay, so fine. So this is the actual JD. It says as a BA, you'll be working within the DP digital unit. Fine. You'll be working in a transformational multidisciplinary team. So transformation, change, transformation, very important keywords. Multidisciplinary team, usually another word for it is cross-functional. Yeah, so you're working with different people from different business units, from different work streams, all of that. So it says alongside roles including user researchers, developers, and QAs. You've worked with developers, you've worked with QAs, you've worked with user. I don't know what they mean by user researchers, but it's fine. You've worked with users, so it's fine. I'm not sure what their term is. a lot of organizations have terms they use within the organization. So sometimes you may need to ask them. If they ask you, it may be something you ask them either during the interview, or you could research it or something. I don't know if you're interested. But you've worked with developers and you've worked with QAs. Now you may be used to working on an agile or traditional delivery team. You've worked on agile. The project you just worked on is an agile framework, use agile framework. Traditional delivery teams usually waterfall, and you've done some of that as well. Yeah, some of the things we worked on is agile and waterfall. What do they call it? Waterfall artifacts, business cases, gap analysis, root cause analysis. A lot of all these things are your traceability matrix, your requirements traceability matrix is definitely a waterfall artifact, or a Agile artifact. Agile, mostly you use Azure DevOps or Jira or one of these other project management softwares to document. But in a traditional one, you kind of use a lot of all these artifacts as well. So hopefully you know the difference between an agile framework and a waterfall framework. So these are things you need to add to your CV. I'm going through all of this so you can identify words that need to be in your CV and need to be in your the verbal interviews you have. Yeah, a lot of people forget that when people are hiring, they are interested in what you can do for them. Yes, you are good at this, but how does that translate to the value you can bring to their organization? So whenever you're talking about who you are and what you want to do, you have to make sure that it's relevant to the job that you're applying for. And you don't want them to make the assumption. You want to be the one to connect the dots to say, I have these skills and it's beneficial in this particular area. And that means you have to be very familiar with what it is that they're asking you for. Yeah, regardless of how you apply, you can apply deliberately to say, I want this job, I'm going to go for this particular job. Or you can apply generally, like in LinkedIn, apply, indeed apply. But when they're calling you for an interview, you want to ask them, you want to make sure you have the job description for that interview you're going for. Make sure you get it, make sure you have it. If you don't have it, get them to send it to you, and then you make sure that you structure your conversation to include the words that they're looking for specifically for that interview. So if you already have this before you apply, then you make sure that your CV is tailored to include all these key words, because that's what they want to see. Yeah, so that's when someone tells you that they want to tailor your CV to a particular job. Okay, so that's you may be working within agile and traditional waterfall. Very important. A lot of times, all these government organizations, they are mainly conversant with the traditional delivery. And even if they have agile, many of them want to transition to agile. So the fact that you're very conversant with agile is going to make you really attractive to them, because they want you to bring that skill into the organization and train other people on how to use agile, because they say they want to use agile, but many of them may not be sure how. They've been in these organizations for years. Some of them haven't skilled up. So you're going to be really attractive to them because you understand this new agile methodology, even though they are more conversant with the traditional one. So the fact that you know both makes you really attractive. Translate business problems and user needs to a set of detailed requirements to deliver value and great outcomes. You know all of this. We've been talking about this. Lead workshops, interviews, focus groups, and utilize other BA techniques to understand BA problems and user needs. Also very important. One of the things we do in the advanced BA skills is a lot of times we do presentations, yeah, and it helps all these skills to say, I led a workshop. Yeah, you've been lead BA before. That's why we try to get you guys to rotate. So at one point in your internship, you would have been lead BA. So yes, I led a workshop. I was the one who led when they'll tell you come and present what you've done during the sprint. You can say, yes, I led a demo, or I led a stakeholder workshop. I spoke, to stakeholders, and I was able to utilize BA skills to effectively understand and communicate, business needs and solutions. So it's all these things that you need to know that you've been doing all this time that you didn't really realize that you were doing. When someone will tell you, "Oh, do this thing," you didn't know that that's basically what you can translate to say, "I did this thing." Yeah. So the next one is develop and maintain stakeholder relationships. You've been doing that. Communicate effectively between technical and business. You've been doing that. And ensuring understanding of requirements and acceptance. Right. This is your bread and butter. You know this like the back of your hand. You just need to let them know that you know it. Gain a good understanding of business processes and activities. You know how to do that. That impact and are impacted by the product and service. Select the best business practice techniques to model business processes. Talked about use cases, process modeling, all of that, in order to identify potential business process improvements. You know this like the back of your hand. Collaborate with your product owner to agree on suitable epics, features, stories for each sprint, as well as contributing towards prioritization activities. This you've been doing in your sleep. So you see why it's good to be engaged. You're not going to be pretending. You're not going to be faking. These are things you've been doing for the last 3 months. Okay. Take ownership of improving your knowledge of business analysis tools, techniques. So, and play an active role within the BA community in coaching, supporting other members as appropriate. See, you do these things and it helps you in your job description, because that is actually what employers are looking for. No knowledge. All this time that you're spending, none of it is wasted. You can literally um, translate what you've been doing to meet all these requirements that they're asking for, each and every one. As you can see, nothing is alien, nothing is far-fetched. This is what you've been doing. So, and this is a government what did they call it, role. So most roles are not as detailed as this. Yes, I just wanted to go through it critically to let you know that what it looks like a whole lot of text. Oh my God. If you go through each one, you can actually see yourself in it. I've actually been doing this thing. Yeah, it's not new. It's not far-fetched. You've done prioritization, you know about epics and features, and they'll tell you to talk through it. You talk them through it. What did you do? What have you done? Yeah. So very, very important, which is another reason why this last assignment you're doing is so critical, because you may not really know when you did these things that they're asking you for. So when you go back to the last 3 months and you can identify everything you've done, you can again connect the dots to say, when I did that, I was fulfilling this particular um, job part of the job description. When I had meetings with the PO, and this is the description we're talking about. When we were coaching and I was talking through what we did, explaining something to my colleague, maybe they missed something and I had to explain it to them. I was doing this bit of the job description. Yeah, they ask you to tell them stories. We'll get to that. How have you taken ownership to improve your own knowledge, and play? How have you played an active role within the BA community, and blah blah? You give them a response that is tailored to the skill. Like I said, we're going to get to that, but again, I'm just taking my time to let you know that none of these things they're asking for is over your head. This is well within your knowledge and your skill. But again, you need to understand what the job description is requiring for, so you can say the same words to them. Whenever you're in any interview for a job role, let the words you're speaking to the interviewer be the words they're asking from you. So if they tell you they want this particular skill, or they want this particular knowledge, or they want this particular technique, make sure that when you're crafting your words, you're saying, I collaborated with the PO to agree a mix of epics features for each sprint. Elaborate on it. And we prioritize the requirements, blah 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 blah. We walk through, we developed and maintained stakeholder relationships, communicated with technical and business stakeholders to make sure that there was a proper understanding of requirements and acceptance criteria was aligned to the business needs or business problem. So you're using the words they're asking for back at them. You're using their own words to describe the skills that they're asking for. So benefits, I'm not going to spend time here, but you must spend time here, because you have to know that what they're offering you is worth your time. If it's not worth your time, move on. If you know this cannot, your take home pay cannot take you home, then there's no need, unless you want to use this job as practice. Some people just want to interview, so they will get the experience of interview, knowing that if they offer them the job, they won't take it. But I want to go through the interview process so I can learn what is required and I can practice. A lot of people do that. Yeah. So like I said, make sure you go through all of that. It's very important. Some people want only remote jobs. If they're asking you to come in or travel or do whatever, it may not be suitable for you. So please take time to read about the benefits and make sure it aligns to what it is you want. If it doesn't, then we might need to skip that. Okay, so things you need to know. So they said the vacancy is using success profiles. If you click on this, let's click on it. Let's see what they're asking for. Okay. Can you guys still see my screen?
Yes.
Success profile. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. All right. So it says, so I haven't applied for a government role before, so this is as enlightening to me as it is to you. So it says, okay, success profiles, candidate overview, experience, strengths, civil service behaviors, technical ability, details. So the civil service recruits using success profiles. This means for each role we advertise, we consider what you will need to demonstrate in order to be successful. Nice. I like when they tell you what they're going to need from you so you can prepare for it. I really like that. So this seems like it's one of that as well. So a success profile is made up of 5 elements: behavior, so the actions and activities that people do which will result in effective performance in a job; strengths, things we do regularly, do well, and that motivate us; ability, the aptitude or potential to perform to a required standard; experience, knowledge and mastery of an activity or subject gained through involvement in or exposure to it; technical, demonstration of specific professional skills, knowledge, and qualifications. Not all the elements are relevant every role and will vary depending on the professional level and type of role. This page gives guidance. Okay, so you probably need to click on each one to see what is there. So for the overview, we've gone through all of this. Recruit using success roles, advertise, consider what you will need to demonstrate to be successful. In most roles, they probably, I don't know if it's the same thing, but most people, especially the second part of your interview, the first part of your interview is usually like with a recruitment person or HR, either internal HR or external HR, and they're usually not proficient in the role. They just want to make sure that you are who you say you are and you can do what you say you can do. So they'll ask you a lot of questions regarding your CV. Talk me through your CV. When have you done this? When have you done this? They don't really know the role. They will usually have your CV in front of them. So they want to make sure that because people write all kinds of things. So they want to make sure that the person they have in front of them is the person that is represented on the CV, because they're going to put your CV forward to the professionals within that role. So before they do that, it's almost like they want to verify that you are who you say you are, and you can do what you say you can do. So that seems like what this is. But then usually the second, third or so interviews are now more competency-based interviews. You're going to be with the BA. So if you're applying for a BA role, it's usually a BA product owner, someone who understands that role, and they're going to be asking you competency-based questions. So if you say you understand requirements engineering, we're going to talk to you about requirements engineering. If you say you understand stakeholder management, we're going to talk to you about stakeholder management. The other people are like, oh, so where, what was this role like? What was, they'll just talk to you about your CV. But so this looks like, this kind of looks like, I think this is, so success profiles, made up of 5 elements: your ability, technical, Remember, when we always tell you in your demo, what tools do you know how to use? What are the technical skills you have? That's it. Behaviors. What can you do? Your strengths, your experience, your ability, all of that. So yeah, they've said that we've read all of that before. How these elements are assessed. The civil service assesses candidate in different ways. Depends on the kind of role and level you're applying for. Range of assessment methods. Help us match people, blah, 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 blah. You may be asked to complete an application form or provide a CV and supporting document. So pro tip, yeah, a lot of people apply with CVs and that's fine. If you can, when you can, try to include a cover letter, try. And make sure that that cover letter is suited to the role that you're applying for. A lot of times when you're applying generally, it's a bit hard to do, but you can have different cover letters for different roles. I had loads of different cover letters and all of that. It kind of puts you over the edge sometimes. These guys are asking for a CV and a supporting statement because few people do add cover statements a lot. It used to be very popular previously, but it's not as popular now. And there are people that will probably give you a job without it. But I know of some people who, if they are good candidates, maybe there are 3 or 4 good candidates, the one that sent a cover letter will be the one that they will use to choose. So some people use cover letters to select. So if we've done all the tests and we can see that these guys are all really fairly experienced, which one do we prefer? The one that showed the extra initiative in adding a cover letter can sometimes. I was talking to a project manager friend of mine, and she was telling me that they actually use that sometimes to eliminate people. So because they get so many applications, if you didn't add a cover letter, sometimes they even look at your CV, no matter how experienced you are. So these guys are asking for a supporting statement, is a cover letter they're asking for. So if the government wants it, most of the time, just have it. Yeah, just have it. If you can add it to your CV, please do. It gives you an edge. Sometimes it doesn't, but it doesn't hurt. So okay, they'll help us assess your experience, technical qualifications, and behavior. You may be asked to attend an assessment center or complete an online test to assess your abilities. So this is an online test. Whew. Okay. Introduction. They have verbal, numerical, judgment test. There are some people that do tests. So yeah, I won't go through all of this. We're almost going down a rabbit hole. Let me go back a bit. So this is just an example of what they want you to do. So online tests to assess your abilities, reasonable adjustments. The civil service is a diverse, inclusive workplace. We want to help you show your full potential, whatever type of assessment is used. So, okay, they are saying if you want us to accommodate you by providing large print or interview or assistance, we'll do that for you. We're inclusive, so DI. Application form. You may be asked to complete an application form. Yep, that's true. When you have to complete an application form along with your CV or instead of your CV, kind of use your CV as a guide. Have your CV open on maybe on a side by side window and use that. So the information you put, the date you put, all those things match the CV you provide. You don't want a situation where what is in your application form and what is in your CV don't match. So if you have a CV that you're using to apply for the role, that when they ask you send in a supporting document, you attach your CV, but they still want you to fill an application form, please have your CV ready so you can literally, if you can copy and paste. We'll ask you from what time to what time. Make sure it's on your CV, job roles, all those things. If you don't have it, because you're applying so many different times, there's a lot of potential to make errors, and you don't want someone to look at both documents and there will be discrepancies and they can eliminate you because of that. There are people use many different things to eliminate CVs because there's so many CVs. So don't put yourself in a situation where it's just for a little thing, one mistake that they will eliminate you. So always put yourself in the best position to be picked for that role. So they're saying, okay, because most of the time, even if you complete an application form, they'll still ask you to send in your CV, attach documents, you attach your CV, attach your cover letter, make sure it's the same document. So in addition to your personal information, you'll be asked to give examples of times. Yeah, so I will talk about this again during the interview section. Behaviors are actions or activities that people do which result in effective performance in jobs. The civil service has defined a set of behaviors that, when demonstrated, are associated with job success. Civil service behaviors are tailored to the grade level of the job role. However, you'll not be asked to demonstrate all the behaviors in one role. Use examples given to think about times when you've shown. We'll talk about this. This may be at work, work experience, volunteering, in a hobby. Do not assume the recruiting manager will understand the situation you're facing. So you need to be clear. Ooh, see, I like when they ask you for what they want from you. I love it. It's just gravy. I was going to talk about the STAR technique, and I've seen that they've asked for it here. Yeah, because all these things that they're talking about is using the STAR technique. So it says, consider using the STAR technique, which allows you to set the scene, show what has been done, how you did it, and the overall outcome. If you click on this, you see that STAR means scenario, task, action, and results. So if you read this, you'll find out more about the okay, so situation, I say scenario sometimes. Situation, what's the task, what are the actions, what's the result. So we'll talk a bit more about this, but I like when they tell you, it's like this is what we're going to ask you, this is what we want you to answer. It seems simple though, but people don't always get it, so we'll talk about that as well. So it says, okay, you may be asked to submit a CV and sometimes a supporting document. Don't do sometimes, just send it, as well as your application. Your CV is one of the opportunities you have to demonstrate your skills, experience, achievements, and it may be used to shortlist, not maybe, will be used to shortlist applicants for further recruitment stages. We ask you to provide your CV in an anonymized format. It omits information that identify you, such as your name, gender, and age. Ooh, I didn't know they did that. Okay, so they want you to remove all personal data from it. Interesting. So they will never say that they were biased in picking somebody. They will pick. So they're not looking at your name, they're not looking at your age, they're not looking at your gender, they're just looking at the information on the CV. So if they pick you, it's because you were the best qualified candidate, not because someone knows you from their village. So it says, okay, you may be asked to include educational qualifications that are relevant to the role and professional qualifications. This is to make sure the process is fair, irrelevant information is not taken into account during the selection process. If you need a supporting document, online test, okay, you guys may need to read a bit more of this. Okay, so interview. Part of the assessment process will usually involve an interview. This may be face-to-face, provide they've even said all the things I've been talking about here. It's ridiculous. I'm so sorry. If you read all of this, I'll just be, says before you attend an interview, look carefully at the job description. Think about the examples you can give as to the times when you've shown the behavior outlined in the job advert. You may also wish to think about how you would handle similar situations in future. We'll ask you questions about your interests and what you enjoy doing. Questions help assess your strengths and preferred style of working. Presentation, you may be asked to do a presentation as part of the assessment process. You may be told the subject of the presentation in advance to allow you to prepare, or it could be given to you on the day. The subject of the presentation may or may not be an area you're familiar with. You may be given some additional materials to help you prepare. The email inviting you to the assessment will tell you the format the presentation will take, the time allowed for the exercise. If handouts or presentation size are expected, prepare it. You never know. And that's why we keep making noise about your presentation slides. Some interview process asks you to prepare presentation slides. Imagine if you prepare a slide that is just plain white, like a Word document. Trust me, people go all out for these things. So these are just, for me, these are just ways they want to make sure you can do what you do, because as a BA, you will be asked to present like you've been doing in your demo. So they want to know that you have that ability. It's not that you just say you can, but you actually can. In the invitation, you may also expect to see what topic or behavior the presentation will assess, how the presentation should be structured. Likely the assessors will ask you questions about your presentation, focus on the subject matter. Okay, assessment center, you can read all of that. All right, cool. I think we're done with that bit. Let's go back to the main part. So it says your application process will consist of 5 parts. A personal details application form. So you're going to fill an application form. A verbal test. What will this entail? So it says after the submission of the first stage of your application, you'll be invited, if your CV passes muster or your application form is acceptable, you'll be invited to complete the civil service verbal test. If you successfully pass the test, you'll be invited to complete the final stage. Okay. To complete the online test, verbal test, online test. Okay, it's online, but it's a verbal test. So basically, they want to know that you know how to speak English, basically. I think within 24. Okay, so they'll give you like a link, and then you need to complete it within 24 or 48 hours. The closing date for a fully completed application form is, on the 7th. Okay. Please allow sufficient time to complete the form and test. So I'm trying to understand this. Once you complete the form, you automatically be asked to take the test. Got you. Okay. All right. Cool. So if you pass the test, then you'll be invited to the final stages of the application. So it's actually the first thing you do. You fill the form, you take the test, and if you pass, then they will invite you to the final stages of the application. Please allow sufficient time to complete the online test and your written application before the deadline. If you fail to complete the test and written application before the deadline, your application will be withdrawn. Guidance for the test will be available if you're invited to take the test. The test is administered online and accessed via the Civil Service Jobs website. Online test supplier will be performing scheduled maintenance in this particular time. Okay, it's no. What the? I don't understand. The service will be down between these 2 days. So you basically have the 5th, 6th, and 7th to apply because their service will not be available within this time. Interesting. Wow. So they've removed your time now. Instead of having more time, you have
I
less time.
think
Sorry?
I think it's only open for internal. They try to preserve it for internal employees.
Is that what it is?
No,
I don't know.
I think what's happening, if you don't mind me just jumping in, they are using that
Oh.
test to whittle down people because they know lots of people will apply. And this test, they use it to get the numbers low.
So the test is not available for 2 days.
Yeah, because it's not available from is it from
Yes.
today?
So today
Yeah,
is the 7th
from
of
later
May.
today, I think.
The deadline is the 7th of May. So there's supposed to be 5 days, but they've removed 3 days: today, tomorrow, and Friday. So you only have Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to apply.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Just that I think job may have been up for a while. I just cut it and I said this. Yeah, so I mean
Interesting.
that's the way it is. They do test sometimes, not every time.
Interesting. All right. So anyway, they've basically, so if you are interested in this role, you have Monday, Tuesday. In fact, Monday is online, so bank holiday doesn't matter. You have Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to apply for the role. Very interesting thing that they're doing here. Anyway, let's just move on. So all online tests will be affected. Yeah, fine. You've told us. Okay. Candidates who will be taking the test when the downtime starts will have their test pause and they'll be able to pick up where they left off after the downtime. Interesting. You won't be able to launch new tests, blah, 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 blah. So, okay. Candidates reporting issues should be advised to return to take the test midday. Sunday the 4th. Okay, they're telling you you'll be back from Sunday. It's fine. You only need a little time to take the test. I don't think you need that much time anyway, so it's cool. Following the successful completion of the test, you'll then be asked to complete employment history. Oh, see these people. You're not even going to be asked to do employment history until you successfully complete the verbal test. Interesting. So the application form doesn't include employment history, personal statement, technical statement, doesn't include all of that. Interesting. Okay, so once you've completed the test, you then be asked to complete your employment history. This should contain your work experience and any skills, qualifications, and accomplishments relevant to the job you have completed. Jobs you have completed. Personal statements, cover letter should be used to provide how you will meet essential criteria, demonstrate significant experience of working as a BA and carrying out a wide range of analysis activities. I like that word, wide range. Some people tell you the full BA skill sets. So a wide range of analysis activities. Technical statement up to 250 words. These things are really important. When they tell you that it's up to 500 words, please use your word counter to make sure that it is only 500 words. Because the personal statement, I'm thinking, I don't know if they'll ask you to put it on their website or attach a document. If it's on the website, and the website will probably not let you go more than 500 words anyway. But if you have a document, don't give them 501 words. Give them 499, 500 max. Because there are these little things that people use to disqualify you. If you give them 501, they'll tell you that you did not meet their criteria. So please, if you're using a document, if, like I said, if it's a window, chances are you won't be able to put more than 500 words. There's like this counter thing. But if it's not, or if the counter isn't there, you do the work yourself to make sure that whatever it is you use here is 500 words or 250 words or less. Says up to, so this or less, not more. The following statement is aligned to the required technical skill of business analysis. Yeah, so the technical skill. So all these have to be technical BA skills, not technical in another role. How do your your business analysis skills and experience align to those required for a BA in DWP? Like I said, these things are really very important. I'm taking time to read them because when you're applying for a role like this, you take time and read it. You could miss out on something that will eliminate you from the role. They use all these things almost like a checklist. Check, 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 check. It looks like a little thing, but if you miss out on one of them, then you eliminate yourself, especially because it's a government role. They have oversight, so they usually have to make sure that these are the criteria. The criteria they've put out is what they use to recruit. They won't go beyond what they've put out to recruit anybody. So if you go beyond it, then you have eliminated yourself. Some people are like, oh, I did so well in that job interview. I don't know why they eliminated you. You may have stumbled in one of these different things that they're listing. So if you're applying for a job like this, it is quite important. I know it seems a bit verbal, it's a lot, but trust me, when you get the role, you will get loads and loads and loads of documents that you have to go through, document analysis. So it's all part of the job. Applying for a job is like doing a job, so it's fine. And like I said, I remember the interview I sat through. There was this particular, I was rooting for him so much. I got three CVs. I picked two. So one was an Indian lady, one was a Nigerian guy. I was rooting for this guy. Jesus, because it's a contract role. So come and let them pay you. I know they haven't paid him more than me, but it's like, I mean, come on. I was rooting for this guy. Jesus Christ. He's an obviously very, very experienced BA. He knows what he's talking about. However, the job he was applying for was a data role. It was a data project, a data migration project. This guy is very, very, very well versed in payments. He's worked in NatWest, worked in all the big what do they call it, banks and payment industry and all of that. I kept trying to get him to talk about his data experience. He kept telling me about payments experience. I'm like, what has that got to do with the price of tea in China? I know you're good at the payments thing, but this is not a payments role. Answer the question that shows that you're good for the role you're being recruited for. The guy will go on and on about how he's done this and how he's done that. Like, bruv, don't do this to me. I felt it I felt he did it to me, honestly. I was like, why? I kept trying to ask him questions to kind of bring him back because I had two superiors there, both white men, and I couldn't be. They know his name, they know my name. They obviously know we're Nigerian now. Black, last, we're black. The other woman was Asian. So even if we're not even from the same country, at least both of us are black. I could not be seen to be preferential to him, but I tried. This guy asked me a question, he would tell you about all the things, how he did this payment thing and how he did that payment. Very experienced, more than 10 years as a BA, more experienced than I was, but nothing to do with the job he's applying for. Of course, it was a no-brainer. This lady came in, Jesus. She told me, it was my first time being on a data migration project. By the end of that interview, I learned more about being a data analyst or data BA than I knew. This lady was awesome. She was, I mean, it was, by the time we finished, nobody could say, oh, yes, yes. We knew who we were going for. It was a no-brainer. There wasn't a discussion about it. She basically told us what she had done. That by the time we're done, we're like, we need you on the project. Come, it's fine. Come, it's okay. Although by the time she came, she started misbehaving and she was moved somewhere else, but still, that for me was a perfect interview. So please, when you're going in for an interview and you're talking about it, don't talk all around just be talking. Whatever you're saying has to be aligned. Look at what they've said. How does your business analysis, or how do your business analysis skills and experience align to those required for the BA that we are looking for? See job description. In case you don't, we're not even trying to trick you. See the job description. Tell us how you're suited for that job, not the job you're coming from or the one you think you deserve. This one that you're applying for. Until you can do that, they won't hire you. Yeah, so please keep that in mind always. Note to candidates: to be successful in all criteria, you must provide as much information and detail as you can, explain in your own words what you did. Okay, so we'll go through that. I hope there's an opportunity to go through that a bit later. Please refer to at applications phase, AI guidance. Okay, so if you're applying for one of the AI roles, in fact, you need to do this because from what they're saying, you apply for a particular role and you could go into one of these different departments. So I don't know that you can apply for a particular one. Maybe if you're applying for the role, you can ask them, um can I determine what project I'm going to work for or what business unit I'm going to work for? So this one they're talking about, AI guidance, is most likely for the jobs. I think there were two of them that had to do with AI competencies, so I think you may need to click on this. I won't click on it because of time. If you're applying for any role like this, please don't skip anything like I'm doing. Click on everything and read everything. Take your time. It will help you prepare for the role. Okay, so you'll be asked to complete your employment history. Any information, you will be asked to complete your employment history. Okay, so there's something missing here. Any information that you would customarily share on your CV should therefore be entered onto the application form. Personal details that could be used to identify you must be removed from your application to be considered. Oh, wow. These guys are very serious about this anonymization thing. Okay, if your employment history, personal statement, technical statement contain any they've even made it bold here. So if you put anything there that they can use to identify you as a particular person, your application will not go through. Recognize that AI may be helpful when applying for this role. It's important to use it in the right way. I'm telling you, you can use AI, but use it well. If you like, go and put your AI thing and just copy and paste here, we'll just disqualify you. So it's like, yeah, you can use AI, but just use it properly. That's fine. So it's like, read the AI. It'll be nice to read this if we had time. In fact, after this, I would like to read what it is. It's nice to know, to understand how you can make the best use of Gen AI while ensuring application remains authentic and effective. Brilliant. And use this as well. I like all of this because you can get this information and use it for other job applications. Even if you're not applying for this, you can definitely use, because if the government, a lot of people do things and they don't tell you they're doing it. But I think as a government, they have to reveal a lot of different things. I don't know of any employer that will tell you use the STAR method. And most of them, if not all of them, require you to use the STAR method during interviews. So the fact that these guys are telling you use the STAR method is really, really cool. So it tells you that a lot of these things that they're saying here, a lot of organizations will use it, but they won't tell you they're using it. So this, for me, is a very good exercise in best practice when applying for roles. So fantastic, Ozzy, really, really fantastic stare to go through this. I don't know that of any other job role that I would have gotten that would be this descriptive or provide this much information. So even if you're not going to apply for this role, please take out the time to go through it and read all of it, because if the government does it, chances are most of the organizations do it, because remember, they are regulated by the government. Every financial institution is regulated by the government. Insurance industry is regulated by the government. GDPR, all of them, personal statements, all those things, personal data, all of them are regulated. So if the government is telling you what they do, it's because they have the requirement of being transparent. The other ones will do it, but they won't tell you what they're doing, so you won't know that they're doing it. So if you use this as best practice, I think you in any job application, you'll be good. You'll be really, really, really good. Yeah. So please take out the time to go through it in detail, especially this. Really cool. So it says if you're successful at the SIFT stage, you'll be invited for a video interview via Microsoft Teams. There you'll be assessed against the experiences listed below. Ability to demonstrate significant experience working as a business analyst, experience in using a wide range of analysis techniques to understand the problem, experience in identifying and building strong relationships with stakeholders, ability to identify improvements and make recommendations. Interviews will take place late May, SIFT, and interview dates will be confirmed. Now, this bit is really important, like what they will use to assess you. They are saying, okay, you need to demonstrate a significant experience working as a BA. Now, I know that many of us have had other jobs that are not BA related jobs. So even if you're working on this project, which is your first BA role, that I can say, okay, I'm working as a BA. Think of all the other roles you've held, regardless of whatever field it's in. I told you about my own experience and the kind of jobs I've had that had nothing to do with being a BA. But based on the BA skills you have now, translate those experiences into BA experiences. Many people are doing BA roles that are not being called BA roles. If you are talking with board members, customers, and your fellow employees, you're sitting in team meetings, all of that, that's stakeholder management. If they've ever told you this and this and this is what I want you to do, your line manager has ever given you a task to do, even if it's I need you to clean this floor with this particular detergent, and make sure that after cleaning it the first time, you throw out the dirty water and you clean it again the second time. That's requirements. He's giving you his requirements. If you only clean that floor one time, you have not met the requirement of the business. For this particular business, we need for you to clean this floor 2 times. That's a requirement. You've gathered the requirements. And you ask him, sir, what detergent should I use? Should I use Ariel, or should I use, which other one is it now? Persil, and they'll tell you use Persil. That's you've elicited requirements. I know it's a flimsy excuse, but that's exactly what you should do with your past experiences. Look at them through the lens of a BA, and all the tasks that you've performed, communicate them in BA speak. And that's how you'll be able to show significant experience working as a BA, apart from this particular project you're working on or whatever project you're going to work on in advanced. So if you were a cashier, forget about being a cashier. You were a customer service BA or a BA dealing with payments. Being a cashier, you're dealing with cash, right? That's payments industry. You were in the payments industry. You have payments knowledge and you worked in the payments industry. So now frame all your previous roles in that light and you'll be able to show significantly. Even people that are just coming fresh out of school, their first job experiences. Maybe they were in school, they took a job in McDonald's or they took a casual job in a retail store, Marks and Spencer, whatever. That role, you can actually describe it using BA terms. You have your customers are your users or your stakeholders. Your bosses are your POs or your business stakeholders, key stakeholders. The functions you worked on, requirements, stakeholder management, process mapping. Probably didn't draw a process map, but if you can show them that you drew, if you can talk about your experience in this particular role with process mapping, that's fine. You can just talk about one of the things I do is once I've done all that, and we'll get to the point where you're answering interview questions. But what I normally do is I just say, and in a project I worked in a previous project I worked in, one of the projects I worked in the past, you don't know if it was yesterday or if it was 10 years ago. I'm just telling you that I've worked on a project where I did ABCD. So I'm not saying, oh, it was a project that my last project or my most recent project or whatever. I could say that, but I only say that once. So even if all the experiences I'm talking about happen to be in the last project I'm working on, you will never know. I'll just keep saying, okay, a project I worked on, blah, 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 blah. I worked on a project where, blah, 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 blah. So that way you don't know what project I'm talking about. You just know that I have that experience. So that's how one of the ways to demonstrate um, you working in your CV first before you now attend the interview. Okay, so more information working for the DWP. So they are telling you now that if high application volumes are received, the benchmark for candidates will be raised. So we'll keep raising it until we can eliminate people and then work with what we have. So if we have a lot of different people who raise the bar, have more people who raise the bar and all of that. Again, these guys are showing all the things they do, the things they say in the back rooms, they're telling everybody here. So it's really cool. In line with our commitment to disability, okay, blah, blah, blah. We're only able to progress with candidates who best meet the required standards. A reserve list may be held. So even if you don't go for this one, they could keep your CV in reserve for a period of 6 months. And if they need anything else, they could reach out to you. Successful candidates and those placed on reserve will be posted in the merit list. And Jesus, they're going to publish the list. Wow, I didn't know that. Okay, reasonable adjustments. I think we can skip this bit. Security, you must undergo a criminal record check. That's fine. Most places will require some sort of reference checking, especially if they're regulated. So that's fine. Working with government assets must people working with government assets must complete baseline personnel security standards checks. Nice to click on that and see what that is. This job is broadly open to UK nationals, nationals of the Republic of Ireland, Commonwealth countries, woohoo, Nigerians who have the right to work in the UK, nationals of these other countries, nationals of these countries, individuals with limited leave to remain or indefinite leave to remain who are eligible for this, before this, Turkish nationals, great, great, great. Working for the civil service, nice to know that. D&I, nice to know that. Apply further. Okay, apply and further information. So if you want to apply, do this. Apply now. Is that it? Wow, okay, that's nice. So let's talk a bit about the interview process. Let's go back up here again. Okay, interview, stage 2. So for the interview process, yeah, Once you've done all you can do, hopefully you guys have worked on your CVs. Like I said, one of the things that we do during your graduation is have like a CV clinic. Yeah. So it's a good time to make sure your CVs are ready for that clinic if it's not ready already. I know you guys are working on your individual presentations, so I won't stress you guys out so much. But on the day of your graduation in the morning, there's usually a CV clinic. So um, if your CV is not ready, I want you to use the things I mentioned in the previous class to get your CV ready, because if your CV is not ready, the information you will get will be to get your CV to the point of some of the things I've talked about. If you've now upgraded your CV, the additional information you will get will be a lot more effective because you've already done some initial work on your CV. So you'll be able to get a lot more critical feedback on your CV. You have a new set of people who are looking at it. A lot of them are a lot older than me in the IT profession, been there for a long time. So their input will be really good. So I want you to benefit from their input. If you just give them your CV without the some of the things I mentioned, they'll just give you that basic not basic, but the information they will give you will be to bring your CV up to the level I talked about in the last workshop. But if your CV is already updated with some of the information I talked about, then they'll be able to look at it a lot more critically and say these are ways to improve it. So you get an even better CV. So please, I know that you're all working on your individual assignments and it's taking a lot of time, but once that is done, focus on your CV. Get it ready to make sure that when you go into the CV clinic for review, it's you've done a lot of work based on what we've talked about. So whoever is going to review your CV will now look at it with that extra eye and now give you more detailed feedback on ways to improve it. Because until you get a job, like I keep saying, your CV is not complete, it's not good. The only person that can tell you that your CV is good enough is the recruiter who looks at it and says, yes, this CV is good enough for this role. So until you get a job, you're going to keep, updating your CV, improving it, tweaking it. If you see a role that you want to tailor your CV for, you do that. Sometimes you have multiple CVs. I had BA certified. I had BA payments. I had BA charity. I had so many different categories of BAs because I wanted to appeal to the kind of job I wanted. So I had so many different categories. So even though they're all BA CVs, they had some keywords and were tailored to kind of suit the role I was applying for. So you may have to do that. You have a general CV that's like, okay, most BA roles. But when there are BA roles that are a bit specific, like this one, or some other roles that you want, you may have to tailor your CV for that particular role and then create a cover letter. Like I said, cover letters, I know a lot of people don't talk about it, but it gives you an additional edge. You could get your job without it, no problem, but it gives you an edge. So just to work on that. Now for the interview, like I said, most people use the STAR technique when it comes to interviewing. Yeah. And what that means is that they want you to list out a situation. So they'll ask you a question. Rather than saying, for example, they'll ask you a question like, tell us of a time when you've had to deal with conflicting stakeholder requirements. And like, okay, when I had to deal with conflicting stakeholder requirements, this is what I had to do, and then I worked with the stakeholders, and and then this is what I would do, and this is what my team did, and then you're just talking round and round and around the houses. Yeah, there is a preferred structure for answering scenario based questions. A lot of times people ask scenario based questions because they want you to demonstrate that the thing you say you can do, you can actually do it. And the best way to say the best way to show, because they're not going to ask you to do it in front of them, but the best way to show that you can actually do that thing is to describe a time in the past when you did that thing. So it's in form of storytelling. Yeah. It's like I said, it's a STAR technique, it's situation or scenario. So what was the situation? What project were you working on? What were the circumstances around that project? Who was involved? To paint a picture. What was the situation? You tell them about the situation. Then the T is for the task. Now, you as a BA, what did you have to do? You have a project team, sometimes a big project team, a small project team, however many. They're not interviewing the developer or the QA or the Scrum Master. They're interviewing you, and they're not interviewing any other BA. They're interviewing you, the BA. So what did you have to do in that particular situation? What tasks did you have to perform? Then A is for action. We know what you had to do, but what did you actually do? What action did you take? What did you do? Then R, what was the result? What was the outcome? So you do this, you talk about the situation, you talk about the task, you talk about the action you took, and you talk about the results. That way, you're able, it's like you experience something. It's just like someone is telling you, talk to me about your experience with BlueSky. You're not going to be, if they ask 𝐂𝐍𝐍𝐄𝐓, he's not going to be talking about 𝐂𝐻𝐍𝐶𝐄𝐓's experience because he doesn't know about 𝐂𝐻𝐍𝐶𝐄𝐓's experience. He knows his own experience. So this is what I had to do. I had to work. So because I had to work, I had to take out an extra time in the night or early in the morning to do the tasks. And then I had to do this. And then when it was my time to be lead BA, this is what I had to do. I had to collate everybody's whatever. And then it was a bit stressful because, I had my team members were not available. And then I had to call them. And it's not hearsay or this is what I would do. This is what happened to me. So that's the best way for interviewers to know that thing you say you can do, you've actually done it in the past. So so that's that from their own perspective. From your perspective, it helps outline your response. Sometimes you find yourself nervous. You're just talking. You don't know how to start. You don't know how to end. The STAR technique keeps you in a particular it helps structure your response. So I don't have to think about how best to answer the question. If I phrase the question using the STAR technique, I know how to start and I know how to end. I'll start with the situation. So I told you about when, normally the way I answer it, to be honest with you, I start with a bit of a preamble, but some people don't, but I kind of start with a preamble. So if they ask me that kind of question, I'll go like, yeah, stakeholder management is actually a key part of what I've done, of my experience as a BA. It's very important to understand the stakeholder management process or life cycle. And, in a project I worked on previously, or a recent project I worked on, a project I worked on in the past, which had to do with transport management system. So we had a stakeholder who was don't be saying oh, please. This is just me trying to phrase everything because I didn't prepare anything. But don't use filler words. Prepare your responses. So we had to it was a transport management project. We worked with a client who wanted us to develop an application where data from trucks could be monitored in real time, and the information from the vehicle tracker could be uploaded onto the system, and then it could be downloaded by the fleet manager so they could monitor the progress of the individual trucks, make sure that they were properly regulated, they were compliant with MOT regulations and a lot of all those requirements. So as the BA, I was brought in to make sure that I was able to capture the requirements of the stakeholder. He hadn't done this before, so it was a new experience for him. So we had to guide him. I made sure that I had a number of elicitation requirements illustration sessions with him. And because it was a new project for some other members of the team, we actually had a workshop. I facilitated a few workshops where we brought in a lot of experts, who were able to basically answer some of the team's more technical questions as to the kind of application that was needed. We needed to use a Power BI dashboard. And so I made sure that I was able to capture the requirements. And then even because the stakeholder had a really big, a big scope, he wanted to accomplish, I made sure I was able to prioritize the requirements. So we're able to release it in phases. I made sure that I captured what the MVP was so that we could deliver on that for phase one while we also plan for future releases. And so basically, once we had done all that, it was easy to deliver on the project. And it was a really enlightening project for us, and the stakeholder was quite pleased, and we're able to deliver the project on time, within budget, and all of that. That's not the fantastic response, because I said I didn't plan for it. Oh yeah. So, and I even missed out on talking about the tools and techniques I use. Okay, so I could say stuff like in order to capture the requirements, I used a requirements traceability matrix so that I could document the requirements, make sure that I was able to capture who was the owner of the requirements, and we're able to manage the requirements from the start up until it was developed, it was tested, and it was delivered on. So I made sure that I used that. I also used I used Balsamiq to create a lot of wireframes, because it was very important to create visual representations of the different the website and how it would appear, where everything, how the dashboard would be presented, how the fleet managers and the drivers and the admin would access the dashboard, and what their process was. And I was able to create process maps as well, using Visio to map out what the user journey will be for the different users, because we had different users who had different levels of access. So I made sure that I was able to capture the user journey using the process map, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. So I would kind of incorporate that in there, because you want to talk about the in talking about your action. So that's the action bit. You kind of want to talk about what you did, what techniques you used, what tools you used, and then you now talk about the results. So I didn't phrase it as well. Please go on to videos like YouTube and all of that, and then you get a better representation. But I'm able to structure my response and know that I need to answer the question using the STAR technique. So I know that I have to talk about the situation. I have to talk about the task, my task as a BA. I'll talk about the actions I took, what tools did I use, what techniques did I use, and then I'll not talk about the results of everything. So, and in the result, it always ends up good. You have to be the superhero of your own story. So it always has to end up good. Don't tell a story that ends up bad, please. And pick another story. So how you normally prepare for this is, there are some commonly asked questions when you're applying for a BA role. Yeah, that you use those questions to prepare. They're going to ask you about all these competencies. Remember at the beginning when they told you about the job, okay, not about the job description. So they're going to ask you about all these jobs. There are many different ways to do this, but now that we have ChatGPT, it's so much easier. You can literally copy this JD, paste it in ChatGPT, and ask ChatGPT to create questions for you from this job description. And you can use that to prepare. So if, for example, they'll tell you, okay, so tell me of a time when you've worked with a change cross-functional project team, and you've worked with developers and QAs, and how did how was that experience like for you? that's a question. You use your experience to create a response. Actually, people recommend that you have like 2 or so responses for the questions that you're answering. So if you say ChatGPT, use this to create questions for me. So let me see if I can do this now. Let's see what ChatGPT will do. So let's see. Okay. Okay, so I like being nice to ChatGPT because are you guys seeing my screen?
Yes, we still can.
Yes,
Oh,
yeah.
brilliant. Okay, so if the robots rise up in the future, they'll remember that I was nice to them. So hi, can you create BA questions using this or these notes? Okay, I copied it. I pasted the BA interview questions using these notes and highlighting highlighting the BA skills, techniques, tools needed for the job description. Okay. Just a simple prompt. If it doesn't work, I can give it additional prompts, but that's usually okay. So it says based on the job I've created a tailor-made list of interviews to access the skills, blah 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 blah. So these are some of the questions it got from that JD. It says, can you walk us through how you have translated a complex business problem into a clear set of requirements? Describe a time when your analysis directly contributed to delivering value. What was the outcome? Okay, so this one, it says this one is looking for requirements elicitation, analysis, and documentation skills. So it wants you to showcase that you can create user stories and use cases. These are things you know how to do. Describe a time when your analysis directly contributed to delivering value to users. What was the outcome? This question evaluates value-driven analysis and impact orientation. So when has your BA skills contributed or added value? So it wants to show that it wants you to draw a direct, like I said, don't let people connect the dots. It wants you to draw a direct inference from the work you do to the impact that was made as a result of it. So this one is understanding and translating business problems. This is stakeholder engagement and communication. How do you manage relationships with both technical and non-technical stakeholders, especially when priorities conflict? So you want communication. Taught you about stakeholder communication, negotiation, influencing, stakeholder mapping. This one, describe a situation where you've had to align different stakeholders around a set of requirements or priorities. What techniques did you use? So facilitation, communication, collaboration tools, Miro or Confluence. You know how to use Miro. You can learn how to use Confluence as well. BA techniques and tools. Which BA analysis techniques do you typically use during discovery or analysis phases and why? So it wants you to talk about process modeling, your SWOT, Moscow, 5 whys, user stories, scenarios. How have you used process modeling to identify improvements in the business area? What tools do you use? It wants you to talk about your BPML skills, UML skills, tools like Lucidchart, Visio, or Bizagi. So I won't go through a lot of all these things, but this is how it can help you. Remember, we talked about agile and traditional. Say traditional waterfall. When you say traditional, it's waterfall that they're looking for. Although there are a lot of other methodologies, so it's not just waterfall, but usually it's waterfall. So you can look at other methodologies and use that. So it wants to test your understanding of agile ceremonies, sprint planning versus your BRD, that's your business requirements document and stage gate processes, your business cases, your requirements traceability, all of that. How do you collaborate with product owners to shape and prioritize the product backlog backlog grooming, story mapping, writing epics. So all these questions that they're asking, they should all be familiar to you. There's nothing here they're asking you for that you haven't done. Nothing. Nothing. You can, if you want more questions, you can ask. Another thing you can do from this point is sometimes what I do, just in case I kind of want a bit more of a guide, I can say, okay, hi Chip, could you answer these questions using the star technique? Now, this is a bit dicey, yeah? Because ChatGPT doesn't know what my experience is. So it's going to create a fictional answer to these questions, which is good insofar as I want to learn how the technique works. But the examples is given is not my life. It doesn't know my life. So if I use the example it gives, I'll miss it because it's going to give me examples from it created from the thin air. But I use this to understand how to use the STAR technique to answer these questions. And then I'll use my own experience with the technique to answer the questions. I hope you guys get the distinction I'm making. Let me click on what do they call it? So sample, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so can you walk us through in a recent project? Now, and I think what do they call it? ChatGPT does it's very concise. The first few responses it gives is usually very concise. If you wanted to expand on it, you have to ask it to expand on it. So here it says, in a recent project for a government health agency, the client was facing details in processing citizen claims due to a legacy system. That is not my life. I didn't work for a government agency. And if I wanted to tell this story, firstly, I even see the way I wasn't even prepared for the story I know that I did. Not talk about something that I'm pretending I did. Ask me one question and everything will just fall apart because it's not my life, So I just want to know how it's answered. So it says the situation. I told you the situation, the task. My task was to understand. You don't have to use task. You can just say as the BA, I had to understand the bottlenecks and translate them into clear, actionable processes. So if you go through this, you would see the STAR technique in action, and then you can now use it using your own experience to respond to it. So that's basically what it did all the way here. It just gave one-liners on all of this. Like I said, I like using a preamble most of the time when I'm answering questions because I want them to know. Like, see this thing here, yeah. Why I use preambles, yeah. I want them to know that I understand requirements, not just elicitation, but the whole requirements engineering. Because once I see this question, it says, walk us through how you've translated a complex problem, business problem, to a clear set of requirements. This has to do with requirements management. There's nothing else they're asking me for. So when they ask me for a question, when they ask me a question, the first thing I do in my mind is, what are these people asking me about? What business analysis technique or skill or practice or competency are they asking me for? That's the very first thing I do. Once I identify what they're asking me for, then I can structure my response. So a lot of times when I say I have a preamble, is to let them know that this question you just asked me like this, I know it has to do with requirements management. So when I'm going through the response, I will make sure that I touch all the main aspects of requirements management. Requirements, understanding the business need, elicitation, prioritization, documentation, verification, iteration, going back again for refinement, like all the different parts. But even if in my response I'm not able to touch every one of those things, I will try. I will always try. But if I'm not able to, because in my preamble, I identified that you guys want to know that I understand requirements management, the interviewer will know that I know what I'm talking about. That's why I use the preamble most of the time. Most of the time, like ChatGPT will do, just go straight into the start technique. I don't do that. Again, I do what works for me. If it doesn't work for you or someone else says what worked for them, you have to do what works for you. I like identifying what they're asking me for. The way ChatGPT has told you now, what these guys want now is your understanding of agile ceremonies. So I talk about sprint planning is just one of the agile ceremonies. There are 4 or 5 others. I talk about sprint planning, talk about stand up, I talk about refinement, I talk about demo, I talk about, so there are different, even retrospective. I may never talk about retrospective, but if in my preamble I tell you that I understand the agile methodology and the Scrum principles governing them, and I understand the different agile ceremonies. Now I start talking about how we attended sprint planning and we had daily stand-ups and then we did the refinement and then the person knows that I know what I'm talking about. And then I can now say, because they may want you to know to do both. You can answer the kind of question in multiple ways. Talk about agile versus the traditional one. I'll just talk about agile, focus on agile. I understand a lot of different methodologies, but I'm actually very versatile and I really like the agile methodology. The way you phrase it, you're not telling them you don't know what that for, but it's like I know all of them, but my favorite is agile. So let me tell you about agile. That kind of thing. So you're not telling them it's only agile I know. You're saying no, there's so many different methodologies, and in a lot of the projects I've worked on, depending on the need, because there's some projects that are not suitable for the agile methodology, so they use the more traditional waterfall framework. But I really love agile. I like agile because it's iterative. I like agile because in fact, in the project I worked on previously, they were using the traditional methodology, waterfall methodology, and I introduced agile to them, and I told them about how to use agile to blah 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 blah, and you just talk your way through it and focus on agile. And people are like, this person knows an agile, they can be an agile coach for us. So they're an agile advocate. They really like agile. Let's bring in someone who is not only knows agile, but is excited about it and can communicate it to other people, because that's probably something we need. There are many people in this organization that may not know how to use agile, and we have someone there. The same in my organization now. Young people, a lot of them, they don't know how to use agile and they're introducing it. In my previous unit, we all used agile. When I came to this other one, they're just introducing it. So a lot of them have a vague understanding of what agile is, but they're not as versatile in it. So my although we have an agile coach for them, my project manager is like, Uzo, if I have any questions, is it okay if I come and ask you? And I'm like, yeah, sure, of course. I'm happy to help you, happy. So it's like, okay, so at what point do we move the requirements from the BRD requirements document onto Agile? Because we're going to use, Agile to facilitate. And I'm like, yeah, okay, we need to make sure that we have all the requirements first before the project hasn't even started. This is still discovery. So right now we need to make sure that we're able to capture all the requirements, get them down, approve them, and then we're able to make sure that we're able to arrange them in epics and features, and then we create user stories, for them and all of that. So that's my PM, and I'm talking to her about agile. So a lot of organizations want the knowledge you have when they know you have it and you're comfortable with it. So these are just some ways that ChatGPT can help you. For this, okay, here we are, for this sort of role. Yeah. I know it's past 10. We're supposed to start at 10. My apologies. I think we've gone beyond our time. But if you guys don't mind, we'll stretch it to 10 past 10. So that gives us like 6 minutes. Do you guys have any questions? And I've been talking for a while. Do you have any questions? Oh, I didn't even see this number of jobs available, 28.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's about job application portal, because they different avenues where people can, get search for jobs.
Yeah.
I think when Femi when Deji took us through the CV lessons the other day, he mentioned JobServe. And I think I know a lot of people who use JobServe because of the ease. But what other job board do you recommend or is out there or that's credible that we can at
Oh,
least
there are
keep an eye?
loads. There's Indeed, there's Glassdoor, there's LinkedIn. Um, okay, so again, these are a lot of things you Google, you research, yeah. So
Mhm.
job portals or job boards. Let's do job boards um for business analysts.
Yeah,
Mm.
because I'm saying this based on, how saturated the market is and people like Indeed now. Indeed is like the number one name in everyone's mouth, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So which means people wake up and just you're gonna be millions there. So there definitely other avenues as well that's no, quite I don't know, popular. Like
Yeah,
JobServe, for example. JobServe has been there for ages, but it's
a
not
hundred
that it's not
percent.
as popular as
Yeah,
Indeed, you know?
yeah. So again, there are loads of different job portals and job boards, and you do a search basically, and you go on there. These are several that is brought up already, but you can see IT jobs. I remember applying through IT jobs. There's Hayes, there's BA analyst jobs. There are loads. CW job. There are loads. So, and when you're applying, application is a personal thing. I know a lot of people talk about the fact that, oh, there are a lot of people applying and all. Don't even think about that. Make you think about yourself. Put yourself in the best position to get the role. Make sure that your CV is done. Keep applying. There are people that have applied like hundreds of applications daily. Someone said applying for a job is a full-time job in itself. So you wake up in the morning, you get dressed, you sit at your laptop, and then you start applying for roles. So JobServe is just one of so many. This one is even a lot. When I was applying, my application had to be so specific because I needed a job that came with a work permit. I just couldn't apply for any job. So all these jobs that you're even applying for, I couldn't even do that. I had to look for, and I had to even dig deeper to look for jobs that had to that came with sponsorships. Some people want only remote working jobs. All these jobs are saying come one day a week. They don't even want one day a week. They want pure remote jobs. So all these other ones that are telling you, oh, we need you to come in, it's already disqualified for them. Some people already have a threshold. I already earn 70K. Any job that doesn't give me 70K is not for me. So you have your own qualifiers and things that, this is the job I want to have. What I say to people is, before you even start applying for roles, because it can be overwhelming. You're just jumping into a job pool with so many. For me, it wasn't even looking for the roles. There's so many of them. It's like, which one should I not do, because there are too many of them. So there's, if you do a search, you'll find a lot of them. But for me, I needed to be very specific. So I actually ask people to be specific as well. I ask, if you could design your own job, there were no barriers. You could work for the company of your choice in the ideal role of your choice, and you got a particular amount of your choice, and you could describe the terms of your roles. What job would that be? If you could work for any organization, get the amount you want, like from this thing upwards, get the kind of role you want, what job would that be? For me, look for those roles, because you're even talking about job roles. There's some roles like this that you have to apply in the organization itself. They won't even put in on a job role. They want you to come into their website and apply to them. So apart from all these different job sites that people are using, there are also jobs where you have to go to the site and apply. There are jobs where you maybe see the recruiter on LinkedIn, and you strike up a conversation with the recruiter and say, oh, I see that your company is recruiting for a business analyst. I'm interested. Could you put me forward? Could you refer me? There's some people that refer people to jobs in their companies, and then there are organizations. Okay, so I did a search. Is it this one? What's the search I did just now? Okay, this is job boards. How about BA analyst roles? Let me go back to analyst roles, UK, or jobs. Let's say jobs. Um, See, my laptop already knows me. It's already asking. So, see Deloitte. I don't know what this is. It says business management careers. Let's forget about that one. I'm looking for specific company roles. All these are still job boards, job boards, job boards. Let me see. Barclays. Okay, so again, yeah, let me go back because I left that. We're already past 10. Please, guys, I hope you guys don't mind. It's our last um workshop. So I
You
know
can
I said
carry
we'll
on.
stick
You can
to
carry
10.
on.
All right, cool. Thank you very much.
You
I
can
don't want
carry
to
on.
guys beyond your, yeah. Okay, so like I said, yeah, the reason I say all of that is so you can find out the requirement for the job you actually want. For example, if you want to work for a bank, or you want to work for a tech company, or you want to work for a multinational. I wanted to work for a multinational. I didn't want just I wanted an international. Like, there's some things you want. If you then, like I said, there are no restrictions. You could literally write the job of your choice. What kind of role would you want? Would you want a job that is close? I know someone who, because of her family restrictions, she's looking for a job around Canary Wharf because that's her area. I can just use the Elizabeth line, and I don't want to go beyond the Elizabeth line in Canary Wharf area. So she's literally looking for jobs within Canary Wharf. So once you identify the kind of role you want, create like an Excel spreadsheet and list all those jobs, because it's not just one job. So if, for example, you want to work as a business analyst in Barclays, then probably a business analyst in Santander or in HSBC or in one of these other banks will also be very attractive to you. So you can literally list the companies you want to work for, because all these companies need business analysts. They need business analysts, and a lot of people who don't use business analysts, when their project has failed and they look back at lessons learned, they're like, we didn't bring a business analyst in on time, so that's why we need one, and they're looking for you now. So many people, a business analyst will always get a job. Trust me when I say a business analyst will always have a job or need a job. So what organization, what company do you want to work for? List it out. Create a an Excel sheet with all the names of all these organizations. If you want to work for a Fortune 500 company, maybe an American company, and whatever it is, write down all the companies that meet the criteria you want to work with, and then go there. So let's say Barclays is one of my desired companies to work on. I Google business analyst job Barclays or HSBC or Google or Apple or whatever. Any company I put here for business analysts, you will see jobs for them. Any company. And remember, there are different names for business analysts. That's another thing. I remember when I was looking for a job, I had a friend that worked in Google, and I was like, are there jobs for business analysts? And he said, business analysts in Google are called product owners. We actually recruit product owners. We don't really, so the product owner does the job of a business analyst as well as a product owner. They kind of merged both roles, so yeah, that's when I started becoming interested in being a product owner, although I like being a business analyst. So these guys, they call their own business intelligence analyst. Any company you put at the end of this, call any company, the UN, any company, you will get a business analyst role. Trust me. So you just have to decide the company, the kind of company you want to work for, and then put it there. Once you do that, then you click on, let's go back to Barclays because I like Barclays. I don't know why. So let's click on it now. So I'm clicking on the business analyst role. I want to see what the job role is. Just open it. Let's see what it is. I want to see what the job description is. Let's open this for me again. Okay, so show full description. Um, oh. So I'm trying to expand it, but it's not letting me. So, okay, so this says senior business analyst, blah, blah, blah. It's telling me about Barclays. If I want to work for Barclays, I should know what they stand for, what their values are, all of that. Very important, and all of that. So now this is what I'm interested in. So it says key responsibility. So for a BA in Barclays, these are the kind of roles they want. So this section that says key responsibilities, this section that says skills and experience, there's usually another bit that talks about the role itself. Okay, this is just Barclays. Most of them have a third role that talks about the job itself before they even go to key responsibilities and skills. Because there are three of them. They tell you about the role, the key responsibilities of the role or your JD, and then the skills you should bring in. So these are the skills I want for a BA. And this is a senior BA. Like I said, is a senior BA. So if I want to work for Barclays, these are the skills I need to have. I will make sure that these words and these skills are in my CV. I cannot want to work for Barclays and just put whatever it is I want. A Barclays BA needs to have all these different, not needs to have all these responsibilities and have all these different skills. I'm looking at myself at the moment. I don't have SQL inquiries. I can, throw in my hat and hope for the best, or I can learn SQL. Is that simple? I can just hope for the best, or I can and hope that the skills I do have is good enough. So you don't have to have everything 100% before you apply for the role. But because I'm gunning for this role, it's like a target. You have a target in sight and you want to create a purpose-driven, intentional CV. My CV has to have all these things because it's one of the jobs I want to work for. So I make sure that I put that I'm able to identify, engage, and manage stakeholders. I'm able to gather and analyze business. All these, I won't go through all of them, but you can see. So if I put Apple here, I'll open the JD and find out what are they looking for in a BA. It has to be my CV if I want to work for that organization. It's not rocket science. And that's how you create a purpose-driven CV. Now, if I create a CV that is good enough for Barclays, then any company that is lower than Barclays will also find me attractive. So if I shoot for the moon or the sky or the sun, I will land, even if I don't get to the sun, I will land somewhere high. Because if a top-notch international best in their field says this is what they have and I put it in my CV, then everybody under them should want, if not the same thing, then something less. And my CV will also be attractive to those sales. So that's to those organizations. So that's what I use to create a very good CV for myself. And then I go to Barclays because sometimes you can find Barclays jobs on job sites. Some other times you may have to go to Barclays and apply directly. So if I really want to apply to Barclays, I can go to their site. I can go on LinkedIn and look for senior BAs that work in Barclays. Before I went into my role, I went to all the BAs I could find in that organization and I sent them friend requests. In fact, for this interview I had, I wrote to a number of them to like, oh, I have an interview in the organization. What's it like? You already occupy that role? What's working there like? All of that. Before I applied for the role I'm in, the senior BA role I'm in, I went to other senior BAs in that business unit, and I was like, I'm applying for this role. Can I have a few minutes of your time? I met with three of them, and I was like, what is it like working in that business unit? What are they looking for? And they told me, and I incorporated that in my responses. So if you already have a team of this kind of people, then that's the kind of people you want, Shay. I'm like that too. So if I want to work for Barclays or whatever organization, I'll go and look for people who are working where I want to work and I'll befriend them. on LinkedIn. Hi, how are you? Blah, 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 blah. I'm a BA and I'd love to, I'm currently, do you know of any, look for recruiters in Barclays on LinkedIn. Just send them friend requests. Send 10, send 20. 5 will respond. 2 will respond. I know one of the guys that I sent a response to, I'd worked in that organization for 6 months and he was leaving. We were actually working in the same team. And I think I had forgotten, he had forgotten, I can't remember. When he was leaving, that's when he went to his LinkedIn. I was like, Uzo, you sent me a friend request. I'm so sorry. I'm just seeing it, blah, 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 blah. We had been working together for 6 months before he even realized I sent him a friend request before I got the job. And we're connected on LinkedIn now. So there are just some things you just do. It's a full-time job. You go around, you watch videos. There are people that tell you, if you want to work as a BA, these are some of the skills and competencies you need to show. The kind of BAs I follow online now, man, there's so many because I was just following BAs everywhere. I was like, okay, this is what I want to be. I want to be you when I grow up. What is that like? And I just followed them and I learned how to speak like them and talk like them and all of that. So some of these exercises that we're asking you to do, it's so important because you're able to create your star stories from them. You're able to develop your presentation skills from them. You're able to talk in the language of a BA from them. There's a language of a BA. There are things we talk about. Yeah. There's a way we talk, identify opportunities for improvement, define user journeys, UI is user interface, mockups, guides developers on UI design. All those are wireframes. UI work, there are wireframes. You create wireframes. It's you know how to do these things. You're just not comfortable doing it. It's just like a child that's learning how to walk and they're stumbling. But the more you walk, the more comfortable you be. And then you start running. And before you know it, you'll be walking. Nobody, you even think about it. So these are just some techniques to help you with some of these roles. There are things I did and I advise people to do when they're looking for roles. And they're quite helpful. Yeah. So, Ozzy, I think Ozzy was you. Did that answer your question? I hope that helped. Any other questions?
Yes. Oh, it's gone.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. I think I have. Okay. If you go down to the skills
Oh,
and
sorry. You want me
experience.
to share my
No, no,
screen
no, no,
again?
it's fine, it's fine, it's
Okay,
fine, it's
okay,
fine. I have the info. When
okay.
he goes down to the skills and experience, he says excellent written and oral communication skills, excellent
Mm-hmm,
presentation skills, a minimum of 5 years experience as a business analyst, at least 3 of which are following the recognized agile method, including
mm-hmm,
user story writing.
mm-hmm.
Good understanding of relational database. I think at first you went something about was it a general understanding of database? I don't know. It's up in the responsibility. This state that.
Okay.
Now,
Yeah.
these are the two things I'm asking. Database, yeah,
So,
it's not really an issue. I kind of understand that. But when it goes 5 years experience as a business analyst,
mm-hmm,
at least 3 of which, So
mm-hmm.
how do you make up for that?
Okay. Have you worked? How long have you worked generally? Like after school, how many years have you worked?
Um, many, like
More than
oh,
5 years?
more than 5 years, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. So again, let me see if I can share something with you because I keep saying it, but sometimes you might need to see it to for it to work. Let me just share my
Okay.
old CV with you. So this is the CV I used. Let me if I can find it.
Because I know
Uh,
you talked about adaptation
yes.
to include the task
Yeah.
in those roles to modify them
Okay.
in a BA context, something like that. So that
Okay.
will add up to that 5 years. Is that what you're saying?
100%.
Okay.
So let me give you an example. Again, I've told you of my experience as a lawyer.
Hmm.
So this is the role I worked in as a lawyer. Okay. I was a lawyer. I wasn't a BA. Yeah. Call to bar, going to court, everything. In the process of um again, this is matrix solicitor, so you even see the name. It's not even whatever, but like I said, every organization has BAs. In the process of working, we had to move our servers from an on-prem server. So we had a server in the organization onto the cloud using SharePoint, create a CRM, all of that. So I worked in this organization for about 4 years. Oh yeah, here it is, 2013 to 2016. So I focused only on that project because again, I just needed to highlight where I had worked as a what did they call it, as a BA. So I just put operations management function because my role there is not BA. Although I have a good relationship with them, if they went to say, tell us about 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐄𝐂𝐓 BA, they'll be like, who? We know 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐄𝐂𝐓 the lawyer, we don't know 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐄𝐂𝐓 the BA. But because I had worked on that project, I converted it to an IT project. In fact, this was one of the projects that got me the job. They don't know matrix solicitor, so they'll just glaze over this. They're interested in Microsoft 365. They're interested in the key responsibilities where you did data migration, because like I said, one of the key roles I worked on was data migration. So it's like this person understands data migration, she understands SharePoint, all of that. So I just converted that task that they gave. I was still working as a lawyer. This wasn't, they didn't say stop being a lawyer and do this. It was just, okay, I was responsible for operations. So like, in addition to the role I was doing as a lawyer, they were like, okay, so we brought in an external contractor to help us do this. Can you help manage it? So after I came onto BlueSky, I understood that I could reframe that experience into BA speak. There's nothing here that has to do with law. Nothing. But I talked about the project we worked on, how to get all the data permissions, blah, 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 blah. What is involved in a CRM project or whatever. And I completely rephrased the task I did to include that. Now, this was something I was doing in 2002. So I was able to incorporate my experience in. So I could say confidently that I had 10 years working as a BA, because this was something I did in 2013 and it was a BA role. And this is what I did within that role. And that's how I rephrased up until the point I got this job. Every other role I worked on was rephrased in this particular way. I just focused on a particular project I worked on, and it could have been this was data migration. I think there was one that had to do with, okay, so this was one I worked on for 2B processes. Come on. So that's my point. Even though you've never worked as a BA before, you can take your experiences, whatever they've been in the past, banker, dressmaker, whatever you've done in the past, and rephrase it in a BA lens and describe it, the project. Remember, we're in IT, so each thing is a project. What was the project about? What were your deliverables, and what were the key? What was it focused on? So what type of project was it? What was it focused on, and what were the key deliverables? Then what did you do in that project? You as a BA, what were your main responsibilities or key responsibilities? And then you put all of that there. So you don't say I was a banker or I was this. Within your role as a banker, there were some things you did, whether it's meetings with stakeholders, your clients, elicitation of requirements, all the roles and competencies and techniques of a BA. Rephrase that thing you did in that, using those lenses, using those words, using those terms, and then talk through them. So all your experiences will be as a BA. So I don't know if I've been able to explain a bit better, but if you do this, you can have 5 years, 10 years, however long you've worked. Once you've rephrased you reframed all your experiences in that light, then you've worked as a BA in all that time. Yes, I didn't, like I said, I worked there for 3 years. That was the only project I could, if I had to rephrase and think of another one, I would, but I just focused on just that one, which was for a few months. But who cares? Like within that time, this is what I did, and all of that. So in the last organization I worked on, before I got that job, I was able to draw out 3 projects like that. So I was also there for 3 years. So I was like, I can't just put one project, especially because it's my most recent job before this one. So I just basically highlighted 3 different projects I worked on and did the same thing and just put it on my CV. And like I said, this is the CV I used to get the job. It's not the CV. I had to change it again to get the senior role, but this was the CV I used to get my first job as a BA. And I had a lot of interviews. I had a lot of interest. And even till today, people are still, are you available? Are you available? And all of that. So it's important. I haven't even talked about LinkedIn. I hope someone also told you about LinkedIn. So make sure that you're able to replicate your CV on LinkedIn as well. LinkedIn is really good when you're job seeking. So don't ignore the power and the potential and the connection of LinkedIn as well. It's quite important, So you can design your LinkedIn profile in such a way that people will actually be looking for you. Put enough keywords there that people are like, this person has the skills I need. Are you interested? So you now have people looking for you rather than you looking for them, or in addition to you looking for them, because it's not always one way. So, I hope that helped.
Yes, yes, it did. It did. So you explained it before, but
Yeah.
now it's a bit clearer now. You
Okay.
know,
Cool.
it's a bit clearer now. Thank you. Because sometimes when you see that they just go 5 years, and then my mind first, your initial reaction first just gonna be like, oh, okay. Then when you sit back to think about it and analyze the whole requirements and everything, you see that the things that stated there, they're all easy.
A
You can
hundred
do them.
percent.
Yeah, so but
100.
you always have that years of accountability behind your mind, like, mm, you know, what exactly are they looking for? You
No,
know?
and you have to understand that it's not wrong. If you look at Babok, I gave you 2 books on BAs. Babok describes a business analyst as someone who does business analysis activities. It's BCS that is a bit more whatever, but I love that definition so much because you can be a doctor and do business analysis activities. So it's not saying you have to have a role that calls you a BA, because there's some people that don't have those roles that call them BAs. They're doing BA roles, like proper BA roles, but their job title is not as a BA. But you can put BA there because you've done business analyst activities. And when you want to certify as well, they will also tell you, prove that in the last 5 years you've done business analysis activities. And the same way I just described, reframing your CV, you can also reframe the activities you've done to make yourself eligible to you know basically sit for that certification as well, because you should be able to say in the last 5 years, as long as you work. Maybe if you're just a university leaver, probably won't be able to do that, but if you've worked 5 years, 2 years, 1 year, whatever, you can do that. And then another thing I just want to say, don't um disqualify yourself before the recruiter disqualifies you. Don't see a role and say, oh no, this is too much for me, or no, this is not. Apply. Put yourself in the best possible position and apply for it. Yeah. Um if they're asking for things like data analysis and all of that, the one wonderful thing I like about being in the advanced team is, yes, you've gone through the process as a BA. Once you're in advanced and the next team comes in, you can audit any class you want. So data analysis classes, QA classes, SM classes, you won't be an intern there. But when they're having those trainings, you can walk into any of them and stay there and learn. So if they say that you need data analysis skills, go back to the next internship, watch the videos, go online, get those skills, and put, like I said, SQL. if they wanted SQL and I don't know SQL, we teach SQL here, or I can go onto YouTube and learn SQL and take a private course on what they call it, LinkedIn Learning or whatever, Coursera, and learn
Udemy. Yeah.
SQL and put it there, So you don't disqualify yourself from a role simply because you think you're not qualified. Like you said, if you go through those requirements, you either have those skills or can get those skills very easily. So apply for the role. Let them say you're not qualified rather than you saying, "Oh, I'm not qualified." Apply generously. Spread your application far and wide. You don't know when something is going to come up or who is going to see it, and then they're going to call you and say, "Oh, I saw your CV." Sometimes they'll call you and like, "I don't even remember applying for this role. I've applied for so many." And you have to go like, "Oh, I'm sorry, could you please send me the JD?" Because don't tell them you don't remember, but could you please, at least for ease of reference, could you please send me the JD again so I can make sure that I'm well prepared for the interview and all of that. And they'll send it to you. So don't tell them I don't remember applying to your role, but just, ask nicely. You will know that you don't remember applying for the role, but just cover it up, but don't disqualify yourself. Apply and you don't know which one will go through. And then even if you go through the process and you don't get the role, it's a learning curve, it's a learning process. You learned and you use what you've learned for the next one until you get your role. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, welcome. Any other question, guys? Anything else?
BAs, ask questions. We always ask questions, please. Please ask questions.
Don't worry. I'm really glad you guys are coming in for the advance. You get other opportunities to do that. So yeah, you get additional opportunities and you get to learn from other BAs and other people, not just BAs, other people as well. So yeah, it's all good. I know it can be a lot to take in, but little by little we'll get there. Yeah. And like I said, it's the interview prepping thing I really like. It's not in the internship, it's usually for the advanced team. So now, for example, if you're in the advanced group, yeah, Ozzy, you have this job and you want to apply for it, yeah, or you want to go for the interview, you applied for it, you applied for it, they call you and you have an interview. You can call me, Olaomi, Bolu, who is my mentor, and a lot of other people. Like, I have a job interview. Can you help me prep for it? And we can get like sessions where we're literally prepping you for the interview, and you're answering interview questions, and you're getting feedback on your questions, and you're getting, ways to make it better. So by the time you sit in front of the interviewer, it's not anything new. You're prepped. You're really ready. So they don't have that in the internship. They have that as part of the advance, which I really like, because the goal of the advance is to get you a job. Just get a job, and then when you get a job, to keep supporting you. So that's really, really a key thing. So just keep applying, um, and you get what you guys are looking for. Okay. Any questions?
Thank you. Thank you.
You're
Thank you
very
very much.
welcome. You're
You've
welcome.
really encouraged me
Questions,
to
questions from
Welcome.
Australia,
Thank you so
everywhere.
much,
Questions,
Oza.
You're welcome. Ozzy, I
please.
know this was your application. I hope I helped. If you when you apply for it, you know how to go through it and make sure that your application is suited for the role and especially for the interview. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the role. I'm not thinking of applying because of the time, but I just felt it will be useful.
Why won't you apply for it? Apply. It's an experience. All of you, seriously, just
Uh,
apply.
Yeah, I think when I saw it, it was the time remaining
Yeah.
was just felt so
It's
close.
seventh is Wednesday. You still have time now.
Is that you have to do a test as well? That test you need to do.
Yeah, so it could just be a verbal test. We're Nigerians, we know how to speak English, it's fine. It's true. English is our first language. We're good.
Life in
So
the UK.
so apply. At least you have the experience to say, okay, this is what the test looks like. Because
Mm,
until you fill the application form, you won't see what the test is.
Yes,
And when
yeah.
you see the test, sometimes they're like, this test, I thought it was hard. It's not that hard to see. you know.
Yeah, no, I
I
think
may give it a go.
yeah, please,
Do that
Ozzy,
just for the
please do, please
experience.
do.
Just for the experience. Just for the experience. Yeah, you guys should just try it
Okay.
and see. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Yeah,
I'll have a look at the job server in a few days and I'll let you know how it
cool.
goes.
All
Yeah,
right.
please. I'll message you directly the response, everything.
No,
Straight
no
to your
problem.
straight to your inbox. Straight to email.
No problem.
Yeah.
We're in
Please.
advance together, so like I
Yeah.
said, the journey doesn't end. So we're good.
We're
And
gonna keep
there are
moving.
more people like me. So many, 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 many
And
people. So yeah,
I know I can tell. I
yeah.
can tell. Please, BAs, ask questions. BAs, wake up, ask questions, please, you know.
BAs are tired though. Do you know how much work BAs have been doing? Very
Yeah, because
tired.
you see, the thing is, information is never too much for BAs, you
Yeah,
know, because like
true.
my group, for example, when they call the BAs, it's like somebody just took out the drip, the IV drip from like BAs, yes, please answer them. Oh, BAs, yeah, please read it. BAs, please. In my mind, I'm like, okay, okay, calm down, calm down. We
I
are not
like
moving
that a
because
lot.
of the BAs. The
Yeah.
BAs is making. Oh, hold on, hold
Oh
on, hold on.
no.
The BAs have done their job. Now, what's the quality assurance people doing? Where's the developer? No, with the body's not moving. The BAs, you need to have a look. The one BA is not there. We're taking attendance. I'm like, oh, this BAs thing is like, it's
It's
even,
so
it's
good,
even.
honestly.
It's like Moses just leading
I'm
the
telling
Israelites,
you.
like, then they're gonna turn back to you again. Today now, my SM put in the group, oh, please make sure you perfect is been perfected. My SM is nowhere to be seen. You understand? But my SM will turn up again and go, yeah, BS, what did you do?
Yes.
She say it like we're in a confraternity, like the
Uh,
BAs, you know them, you know the BAs, the
yes,
OZs and
perform,
the
perform.
Ijomas
Yeah, perform. Need you to
and
do
the
stuff.
Ijomas, And when we're doing the presentation, the BAs always stand out because
Yeah,
it's the BAs,
yeah.
you
It's
know?
awesome. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's good because
It's
there's
good.
nothing like too much knowledge, so you just learn in the process.
100%. I
Yeah,
completely agree. So you
and,
guys have one more opportunity. You have to
mm,
show up and show out, please.
no, we'll show up, we'll
Please,
show up, we'll show up, we'll show up.
please.
Communication,
I
communication,
mean,
communication,
well, I know
communication.
you're all doing individual, what do they call it? Individual, um,
Presentations.
yes, but
Presentations.
you can get your mentor to look through, talk to each other, listen to some of the feedback you've received and make sure that your applications are like put in 110%. Just get used to giving your best. Don't phone it in because it's just us. Give your
Mm.
very, 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 very best. Go start from the beginning. All the things that DG asked you for, man, a killer presentation. Go online. What can make my presentation better? Like all the evidences, all the screenshots you need to add, and then practice your delivery, even if it's 3 minutes or 5 minutes they give you. Just keep scrolling, next screen, next screen. These are all my wireframes. Next. These are all my whatever. These are all the tools I've used. Next. Just it
in
helps.
my
It
in
helps
my last
you,
yeah.
and it'll help. Yeah,
In my last presentation, I was fighting with the time. Like, it's just
yeah,
time,
yeah.
time. Because the last time you guys grilled me for that fight, I used too much time. Ozzy couldn't say much, so I'm sorry.
So if you have five, you already know you have 5 minutes. Create a presentation that is very robust, but then you don't have to go through each slide and talk through everything. You can have like a slide that you say, okay, these, because obviously you have to show what you've done. So you talk through what you've done. These, I attended these trainings, and then these are the process maps that I created as a result. I attended this balsamic training, and these are the wireframes I created as a result. Flip, 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 flip. You don't have to talk through everything because we have the slides. So if you know you have a 5 minute presentation, prepare like a 4 minute practice, prepare for 4 minutes. So even if there's a delay or something, you have a buffer of extra 30 seconds or whatever. Just practice, prepare, put in some of the work. So when you come in, you can flow and then show everything you've done. The one you learned on your own that you weren't even taught, add there. If as long as it has to do with being a BA. So even if we taught you ABCD, but you've gone to learn F and up to LMX up to Z, add it as well. Yeah, just use that because again, you can use that to build out your CV, number one. You can use that, all these star technique things I'm talking about, use that to create your stories, your experiences, your skills, all of that. It's very, very important. So you may think it's just one thing, but it helps you with a number of other things as well. Your interview, your presentation when you get a job, all those things, the ease with which you use the terms that we need to use, so it's like exercising muscle memory. The more you do it, the more you know how
You
to
get
do.
used to it. Yeah, yeah. Quickly on that, because I remember one time when my cousin who's a BA, I showed him my CV and it was very specific. Because I don't know if it was you who mentioned it. You talked about the three amigos.
Yeah,
He was very specific about it. He's
yeah,
like, "Oh, you didn't add it to it. I didn't see it. That's the
exactly.
basic." In my mind, I go, "What's this guy talking about?"
Yeah,
So I think you mentioned it, or
yeah,
someone else mentioned it. But
yeah.
if you can just explain it, like break it down, like just for a few seconds.
Okay, so the Three Amigos is a meeting that is not part of the Scrum ceremonies, but is usually a meeting that is usually led by the BA, arranged
Mhm.
between the developer, the QA, and the BA. So let me give you an example. So in the project we were working on, the transport management system project I was talking to you about, we had to, again, it's a real project I'm currently working on. We had to create an application for fleet management, and we need to create a dashboard for it so the users can view their data on a dashboard. The dashboard we're supposed to use is either Power BI or Tableau. Now we're BAs, we don't know how to use Power BI or Tableau. The developer doesn't know hasn't developed it before. The QAs haven't tested it before. So we need an expert or an SME, subject matter expert, to talk to us about the technicalities of creating that Power BI dashboard. So we invited a data analyst to talk us through that, and we had a Three Amigos meeting. Three Amigos meeting is typically the BA, the QA, and the developer. So the technical, what they call it, technical resources within a team. It's typically those three, but it can also include other technical experts. Like I said, we invited a data analyst and we said, this is what our project has to do. This is what we have to do. Can you talk us through what that entails? So the DA talked about Power BI. We decided on Power BI initially. They talked us through Power BI, what the design looks like, how the application works. The developer was asking questions from a development point of view. The QAs were asking questions from the QA point of view. The BAs have to design this. So they were asking questions as per BA. So this was their stakeholder, SME. So they had to elicit the requirements for creating the user stories that the developer will develop and the QAs will test. So it's a meeting that is held with it. Like I said, it's typically three amigos. It can be more, but it's usually for the technical resources. Or let me give another example. For example, the application that you're creating, a payment portal, yeah. Let's say your PO says, I want a payment portal that has this and this and this requirement. And like, okay, we haven't really created a payment portal before. The developer understands how to create it. We don't. You can have a meeting with your developer to say, the requirement is to have a payment portal that has A, B, C, D, D. How do you develop it so that we can create the stories you need to develop it? Because the developer, even though they have that knowledge, they're not going to create anything the BAs don't um, give them the stories to create. But the BAs don't have the knowledge. The developer has the knowledge. So the BAs go to the developer to say, talk me through what this feature or functionality is. How exactly does this thing work? Based on what they tell them, they will now go and create the stories for the developer to develop. So a Three Amigos story it's like an additional meeting that is created so that the three technical resources within the project, at least the key main ones. It doesn't have to be just them. The Scrum Masters can attend, other technical resources can attend, but it's for them to understand the technicality behind a requirement that they have, so that they can go and create the user stories. The QAs will understand it from their perspective because they'll need to test it. If the developer is the one that has the knowledge, they'll be the one talking it through. If you need to get another SME to come in, and then the developer will also ask questions or learn, because they're the ones going to develop it. So that's what usually a Three Amigos meeting is. It's usually used for a technical project where, remember, like a BA, you don't need to have domain knowledge, but you need to get a stakeholder who has that understanding. So if that stakeholder is the developer or another resource, then you set up meetings so you can talk through what the requirements are, and then you find out what needs to be in the story. How exactly does the design go? How does the and what are the features? How does the functionality work? Like if someone tells you, when I click this thing, if the PO doesn't know how to do it, the PO will just say, I need this particular functionality. I don't know how to do it. Go and meet the SME that knows how to do it and find out how. So that information that PO would have provided for you, you have to get the technical resource who provide it for you. And then you have like a Three Amigos meeting where they talk you through what that requirement is, how the functionality works, what the design is, any question you have regarding it, because that information you get is what you're going to use to create the story, what the developer is going to use to develop the story, what the QA is going to use to test it. So that's basically what a Three Amigos meeting is. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
That'll be all for now.
Awesome. Thank you for your questions, Nessa.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
appreciate them.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Awesome. Any other questions? Like I said, if not, I'm still here anyway. So after your graduation, we'll still see. So yeah, I wish you guys the very best. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Uzo.
You're welcome.
It's been a